Okay, whenever you're comfortable, you can start.
PAE, The Fight for Women's Education by Sydney Carson. Opening. When you hear the word segregation, you probably think of Martin Luther King Jr. and the Civil Rights Movement. But the Civil Rights Movement wasn't the only thing that had to do with segregation. There was also the fight to end segregation in women's education. For hundreds of years, women were denied the right to go to school and receive an education. They were segregated by staying at home. Women were thought of as accessories and were meant to keep house and look after children, not going off to school and learn. My research question is, why didn't women go to school in the first place, and how did they push through to get to go? 1700s. 314 years ago, in the 1700s, people were labeled in classes: upper class, middle class, and lower class. If you were in the upper class, it signified that you came from or lived in a wealthy family and had a lot of money. Not many people were in the upper class. Being in the upper class also gave you the privilege of getting to have both your daughter and son educated. Being in the middle class wasn't anything special. If you were in the middle class, it told people that you were around the average person nowadays, which meant that only your son would be educated. About 3/8 of the people were in the middle class. In the lower class, you were poor and below average, which meant that neither your son or daughter were educated. Approximately half of the people were considered lower class. So, as you can see, not many people were educated, especially the girls. But what people didn't know was that things were about to get a lot better. Women would still face some obstacles in their way, but education was soon to come. 1800s. In the 1800s, things started to make a fast turn in the right direction for women's education. The first types of schools that started admitting or opening for women were day schools, primary schools, secondary schools, aka academies, adventure schools, and finishing schools. Day schools admitted both girls and boys. The girls would learn sewing and knitting and other skills that would help them around the house. Primary schools and secondary schools were both private schools. Adventure schools were in business during the summer and taught similar skills to day schools. Finishing schools did involve both boys and girls. They were called finishing schools because they were normally at the end of most women's education. Michigan, Wisconsin, Missouri, Iowa, Kansas, Indiana, Minnesota, and California had all male schools and made them co-educational, a mix of girls and boys, in the year 1870. One person who helped with the cause in the 1800s was Emma Willard. Emma was lucky because her dad believed in women's education. Emma wanted to help give women an education, so she started working at school in 1804. 3 years later, in 1807, Emma opened her own school for girls, where she taught them to read, write, and spell. After she retired, she wrote a plan to help improve women's education. 1900s. Some other people who were involved in the 1900s were Alva Belmont and Polly Murray. Alva Belmont contributed by donating her fortune to schools and organizations that helped the cause. Polly Murray was involved because she was one of the founders of a group that worked for equality for women's rights. In 1914 through 1919, during World War I, more and more women were given an education so they could become doctors to help the war effort. Late 1900s. In the late 1900s, Title IX played one of the leading roles in the fight for women's education. I interviewed Susan Galsman about what Title IX was, and she said Title IX was a federal law for women's rights, for equal rights for both sexes. Susan Galligan helped Title IX by working for NOW, aka the National Organization for Women. NOW sponsored Title IX. NOW's job was to spread the word about Title IX and what it did for women. Susan wanted to help Title IX because she didn't get to go to college like her brothers did, and Title IX gave women a chance at things, so she wanted to help. Title IX was important to Susan because there was limited options for women to go to school and get jobs. Susan thinks that Title IX took a big step for women. Title IX of the Education of Amendments of 1972 states that no person in the United States shall, on the basis of sex, be excluded from participation in, denied benefits of, or be subjected to discrimination under any education program or activity receiving federal financial assistance. Other places. The fight for women's education wasn't only in the U.S. For example, Eva Perón became the first lady of Argentina in 1946 and used her power over Argentina to help women get the right to go to school. Sor Juana Inés de la Cruz from Mexico protected the right for women's education through a poem. More recently, last year, a girl from Pakistan named Malala Yousafzai gave many speeches and wrote books to promote women's education. Malala was shot in the head and survived speaking up for education. And that just goes to show how much a girl will go through to receive an education. For us it's work, but for them it's a privilege. Closing. In the 1700s, only upper class girls went to school. In the 1800s, more schools started opening for women. In the 1900s, Alabama and Hollywood went into acting. And Malala, Eva, and Sor Juana told you that not everything happened that long ago. And not everything was in the U.S. Along with Title IX and Maine Statement. That was all the work we went through, and look at us today.
Okay, what would you like to tell us about your artifact? And do you need any help from anybody?
I think I'm good.
Okay, good.
So if you don't remember, my topic is the fight for women's education. My artifact is a timeline. On my timeline, you can see different objects in different time periods. The time periods also go through 1700s, 1800s, and 1900s. In the 1700s, since women didn't go to school yet, I showed some women in a sewing circle. In the 1800s, I showed 3 different schools to represent upper class, middle class, and lower class. So they're not, you can tell that some of them don't look as nice. Well, because they didn't really, the schools, it's supposed to say that the lower class didn't get really good schooling, and the middle class didn't get great schooling, and the upper class got pretty decent school. In the 1900s, since that was the time of Title IX, I made two girls holding a protest sign. And so I was looking up some stuff that was protest sign in Title IX, and one of them was this, and it said help Title IX over the hurdles. And thank you.
Okay, questions or comments about Sydney's presentation? Una.
I think that Emma, for my women's suffrage project, I had someone named Frances Willard, and I think that Emma Willard might have been like her grandmother or her mother, just because she fought for education, because my person fought for education too, so.
Good. Good connection. Great. Okay, Elle.
What made you choose this topic?
Well, I didn't really have a good topic idea, and my friend Elena suggested it for me. And
Good to take suggestions from friends sometimes. That was a good one. Let's see. Any other questions or comments? I have a question. Was the lady that you interviewed nice?
she's nice.
Oh, good.
Was she your daughter?
She's my sister.
Her sister?
She was really involved in Title IX in the early 70s, right after it passed, and we lived in Washington, of course, and so lots of organizations sprung up to start getting the word out and getting colleges and universities especially to start changing their programs for sports to open up to women and other organizations to open up to women in education. So she was one of the early workers on that. I'm glad you got a chance to talk to her. Let's see, any other questions or comments before we talk about things we learned? Any questions or comments from our guests?
Very articulate.
Very nice. Sticking with that good word we like. Yeah.
She spoke very audibly, could hear from here, everything was really put together, put a lot of work in it. Good job, Sid.
Yeah. You had a lot of good detail, Sydney. A lot
Well
of detail.
organized. Well organized. Good job, Sid.
I think it's remarkable being a young woman that you can look at things now and see where your future can take you. You have no barriers. You know, long ago, they used to treat us as second-class citizens only because we were girls and women. But now the whole world is open up to us. I mean, just think, we may have a woman president one day. So
Very nice.
it's good. It was really, really very good to see where being young girls, where we were and where we are now, and education and everything. Very good.
Yeah.
I like that you gave a lot of evidence. That was, you just didn't say what you thought, you just gave a lot of evidence to back up what you thought and what you said, which I love. Okay, so we're gonna go around. One thing you learned